This is the Mobvoi Ticwatch Atlas, and it is a strong name for a very strong and durable watch. Now, you buy this watch for the second screen, which I love. And this is not a sponsored video. I bought this watch myself with my wife's money, and I do love the watch, though, and I do love that second screen. But there are definitely some cons on this, and I will cover all those. But let me talk about the second screen just a little bit more. This is the second low-powered LCD screen, and you can see it's a little tough to see, but if you get the right light, you can see it fairly well. So I'm just going to turn on the backlight here so we can see this. This is the standard LCD screen here with the backlight on. You got the date, you got the time, your heart rate, you got a little battery graph here. You do get your step count, and then we have other options. So we turn this wheel here, we're going to get, this is our heart rate. You see BPH, beats per minute, and that will flash on if I was wearing it. You got the clock on the top. This gives you your calories for the day, and this will give you your SpO2, and you'd see that information if I was wearing it. And then the last one is the compass, and it just gives you the degrees. It doesn't tell you the direction or anything, but that might be useful in certain situations. And then we just keep scrolling, we get back to the original screen. Unlike other smartwatches, the Atlas forces you to have an always-on display. It's either this low-powered LCD screen, or it is the traditional AMOLED screen, which is standard on all the other smartwatches that you have. But that uses a lot of battery. So I'm going to cover all the different options you get with this LCD screen, because it actually is a lot. First, I'm going to show you my favorite. So this is my always-on display. This is the low-powered LCD screen, which uses minimal battery. And you can kind of get a look at this. You can, see it fairly well in certain lighting situations. And even if it's dim, if you do get a little bit of a reflection, you'll be able to see it. But I'm not always able to see it all that well. So when you raise your wrist, you'll get this, and you get a backlight. And there's 18 different colors of backlight on this, and there's actually an auto brightness with the backlight. I'll show you that in a little bit. And now it's very easy to see. If I needed to get the AMOLED screen, because if I wanted to check my notifications, or I wanted to use a Google app or a timer or something like that, then I could either just tap the screen, which you could toggle this on or off if you want. You don't have to have that active. Or I could just hit a button, and then again, the screen will turn on. But the majority of the time, I just use the backlight and the LCD screen, which actually works really well. Now, before we go any further, I know what you're thinking. Paul, how could you buy a Mobvoi watch? The hardware is great, but the software support is just awful. And that is true. I agree with that 100%. And I had Mobvoi products many, many years ago, and I kind of gave up on them because of the lack of software support. But I'm hopeful things are changing. So that's why I got the Atlas. Like I said, I love that second screen. I'm assuming other people do. So I wanted to do a review on this and give you all the information about it. And hopefully the software situation does improve, but only time will tell on that. And more about that in a little bit. So right now I just want to show you all the display options, and then I'll show you how to toggle all these things on and off. And then of course I'll do a full review of this. I'll show you all the tips that are available on this, all the features, and I'll show you how to customize everything on the watch. So stay tuned. Okay, so there has to be some sort of order to this. So I'm going to go with the options that require the least amount of power, and then we go up to the ones that require the most amount of battery life. So you can actually have it set like this, and you can have it set to essential mode, which is just this screen and nothing else. And it actually will shut off a lot of the background functions, all the Google apps and things like that you won't have access to. But the essential mode I'll get into a little bit more later, but this will give you up to 45 days of life. Now, this is going to be one step above that, so it does use more battery, but you got the background LCD screen here. There's no light. If I raise my wrist, nothing happens here. But if I just got a buzz that I got a notification, or I want to check my Google apps or go through something, then I could just either touch the screen or hit the button here, and then I get my full AMOLED display. The next option that uses a little more battery is the one that I use all the time, is I have the LCD screen in the background as my always-on display, and then I just tilt it, and I get the backlight. And then if I do need to see my AMOLED screen or to get my Google apps or anything like that, I just click on this, and then I get access to everything. The next option is when I have my always-on display to be in the low-powered LCD, but then I raise my wrist, and then I'm going to get the full AMOLED screen. Again, that uses up a little more battery, but then you'll have access to all this stuff right away. Okay, the next option is when I have the AMOLED screen as my always-on display. And this is the traditional route that all the other smartwatches have. And this is a very minimalistic always-on display. But then I raise my wrist, and I get the AMOLED screen. Now, this is only because of this watch face, and I got the minimal clock. But let me show you a different watch face that has more of an always-on display. So this is the always-on display for a different watch face. And you can see this could use up maybe some more battery. Then I raise my wrist, and then I got this screen there. Then you're not using the main advantage of this watch, which is that secondary to screen. You're not using it at all, basically. Now, the next option is if I did have the AMOLED always-on display, but when I raise my wrist, nothing happens. So I just have this always-on display all the time. So I do this, and that's it. I still got this basic clock there. And then when I need to access anything, then I hit the button or touch the screen. Okay, so that definitely gives you a lot more options than the standard smartwatch. And let me show you how to access all those things really fast. We could get into the settings menu. Easiest way is just to toggle down here, hit the settings gear, and now we're going to go into display. So the always on screen, we got to hit that. And now these are all my options. Again, I have to have an always on display. So it's either the AMOLED or if it's the ultra low power display. So those are the two options. You have to pick one of those. And then the tilt to wake. So this is when you raise your wrist, something happens. I could have it off, so nothing changes, or I could have the AMOLED display turn on, and then I could have the backlight when I have the LCD screen on. So if I just go back here and go to always on screen, now if I turn it to the LCD screen, I could pick the color, and then I could do this. These are all my colors. So really nice that you got all that option there. And then I could also make it the dynamic heart rate zone. So this is really nice when you're exercising and you just have that LCD screen on there, so it's not using a lot of power, and then I could have the screen change just based on my heart rate, and I'll show you that more a little later. But now since I have the LCD screen on the always on display, when I go to tilt to wake, now it gives me the option of having the backlight, the AMOLED screen, or off. So again, that's how you set all those options that I just went through, all the combinations. Now the other one is if you tap the screen, you could turn that on and off if you want it. You'd basically turn it off if you think you're triggering it too much, if your sleeve is hitting and it's turning on a lot or something like that. But otherwise, it's a nice feature to have. So let's get into settings here. This is the main settings, and we got to go into gestures and then touch to wake. So I could just turn that on or off. Okay, so let's talk more about the software issues. So I had the Mobvoi watch for years. Like I said, I remember having the Pro 3 with that great secondary screen. Just really loved it. That came out way back in September of 2020. And I was waiting for software updates for that forever. And not only was I waiting a long time, but also Mobvoi kept promising to get the update out to us. And it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. So that was a very frustrating thing. So that's kind of what turned me off from the Mobvoi watches. But now I am hopeful because the TicWatch Pro 5 came out. And this was released in May of 2023. This had WearOS 3 on it. After that came out the TicWatch Enduro. And this launched in May of 2024. And that was released with WearOS 3.5. Which was still behind Samsung and Pixel, but that's okay. But then the Atlas came out in November of 2024. The TicWatch Atlas was released with WearOS 4, and WearOS 5 was released in July of 2024. Now, the TicWatch Pro 5 and the TicWatch Enduro both got updated to WearOS 4, which was the same as the Atlas, which is, again, they updated those things which were over a year old, so that's really nice. So I'm hopeful that the Atlas will be updated to WearOS 5 eventually. But the other issue with software updates is that Mobvoi itself does not promise any software updates or any time frame. So that's kind of really bad. But hopefully that will change in the future. But I'm going to review the software as it is now and tell you all the pros and cons about it. So let's keep going. Now, I hate for you to leave the video so soon, but this is not compatible with Apple. So this is only available for Android phones. So if you have an Apple, so sorry, check out one of my other videos. So this does have WearOS, which is Google software. So you have full access to the Google Play Store. And that will give you all the apps that are available in the Play Store. So any Google apps that you're used to using on your phone or previous Samsung or Pixel watches, you'll be able to get to here. Now, the one thing missing on the Mobvoi, for some reason, is the Google Assistant. There is no Google Assistant. I'm not sure why, and that's been left off for a while now. I don't think that's going to get released onto the Mobvoi, so if you really need that, then you have to go to a different watch. Now, let's talk about the build quality on this. So this is a stainless steel bezel here, aluminum alloy frame, and then it's a high-strength nylon with fiberglass on the back. And it actually feels very durable here, and it's very heavy. The band does add a little bit of heft to it, but does feel like a substantial watch here. The big improvement is that the screen is made out of a sapphire crystal, which is super durable. And if you look here, the bezel is just slightly raised, so that hopefully the bezel will take some of the impact, and then, again, the sapphire crystal is really durable. It is also rated for 5 atmospheres, and it's military standard 810H. Mobvoi also says that the watch is compatible with open water swimming, pool swimming, and there's a few other water sports on there. So no issues with that if that's what you were thinking about using this for. Okay, so now the watch only comes in one size, which is a 1.43-inch screen, and it does come in two colors though, black and silver. And you can see what those colors look like. I'll put the size and weight specs on the screen here, so if you're interested, you don't have to go somewhere else. But this has a very nice rotating crown here. It rotates very smooth, and you get a little haptic feedback with it, and it's a very smooth rotation. So you'd think this would get wrist pressed all the time, but I haven't had any issues at all with it. And it does seem like this is in a terrible spot for it, right? It's sticking out and it's, right where your wrist would be hitting. But it does require a little bit of force to push it. So maybe that's what saves it, but I haven't had any issues with wrist pressing this at all. So don't worry about that. So I also want to show you, does have a mic right over here. It's hard to see there. And then it has a speaker on this side, this big grill over here. So this is able to make and take phone calls. But of course, there is no LTE version on this. So to make any phone calls, you would need your phone linked with Bluetooth, and the phone would have to be close by. This is what the phone call looks like coming through. So again, I could just decline it right here. I can answer it, or I do have some more options. I hit this right here. And now I could decline the phone with a quick message, which is a really nice thing. And then I could also answer it on the phone if I wanted to. But nice full functioning phone on here. Let me just end that for now. And then let me show you the phone app. So let's get into that. Okay, so let's scroll down here. This is in alphabetical order. I'll show you how to rearrange this kind of a little later. There's not all that much you can do. But this is what the phone app looks like. You can put your favorite contacts in here. You got your recent calls. This is all your contacts. And then you have your dial pad, which is just a standard dial pad. So you can make phone calls on this with no problem. The speaker sounds great. The person on the other side said that I sounded great. So, it is a watch. For those quick phone calls when your hands are not free, this is really a lifesaver. Okay, so now, again, this strap is actually a pretty heavy strap. And it is super comfortable, though. It does give the watch a little heft, but again, a really comfortable band on here, regular clasp over there. And if you don't like this, well, no problem. You got the quick releases on both ends here. The only issue is this is not the standard size. This is 24 millimeters, whereas most watches are usually 20 and 22. So not a big deal. There's still plenty of third-party watch bands available, but not as many as the 20 and 22. And if you have a previous watch, the bands won't fit in here unless it was a previous Mobvoi. I believe they're the only ones that use the 24 millimeter band. But again, this band was very comfortable and no problems with it. Now let's talk about the price. In the US, this retails for $349, which is a pretty steep price, but this does do a lot of things. And again, if you can put up with some of the cons that I'm going to go over with, then it is an awesome watch. Let's talk about the battery, because that is the claim to fame of the Mobvoi. This competes with like the OnePlus Watch 2, which has about the same battery life, but it does it in a different way. So the Mobvoi Atlas has a 628 milliamp battery, which I believe is the biggest battery on a WearOS watch. If I'm wrong, leave it in the comments. The Samsung Galaxy Watch 7 Ultra, which is supposed to be the big battery life of the Samsung series, has a 590 milliamp hour battery, which is the same as the Samsung Watch 5 Pro, which was released 2 years earlier. So I ranted about that on another video, so I'm not going to spend any time on that now. You do need a proprietary charger on this, and it would have been nice if you did have wireless charger on here. Then you could just put it on your wireless pads that you already have, and it would have been nice. But as of now, you do need to take the proprietary charger with you. Now, the cable here is actually over 1 meter long. It was like 43 inches, so significantly longer than most other watch chargers. So that's a nice feature. Now, it clips on here, no problems, and it holds on there very tight, so no problems with, putting it down and then the magnet comes off or something like that. This will hold on there pretty nicely. And I'll show you, this has a fast charging, and it does actually charge very quickly. Now, in my testing, it was about 1.3 to 2% per minute. It fully charges in an hour, which is faster than most watches. So this charges faster than most watches, and it actually has a bigger battery than most watches, so that's really nice. Mobvoi says that if you charge it for 30 minutes, you'll get 2 days of use out of it. Now, it does go very quickly, but it does slow down as you get closer to 100%. So you'll see it go fast, and at like 90%, it does slow down a little bit. But again, you still get a very fast charge on this. Another nice feature is that you do get alerted when the watch is fully charged, so I do like that feature. So Mobvoi says you'll get up to 90 hours of battery life on this, and that's even more impressive because that is with an always-on display. Again, it's the LCD low-powered screen here, but you do get an always-on display, and you do get 90 hours of battery life. As I hinted to before, you do have an essential mode on this, which is this screen, this LCD screen, but then it takes it a little bit further, so it cuts out a lot of the high-energy use apps and features of the watch. You still have a lot of actual features on this. So it will do the step counting for you still, it will do the sleep tracking, it will do your heart rate tracking, your SpO2, your stress, and of course it will give you the time and date, as you see here. That's really nice that you have all those features, so you could actually put this in essential mode, get a lot of battery life on it, and it will sync, when you take it out of essential mode, it will sync to the watch, and it will update all your step counting and sleep tracking and all that other stuff. So you definitely lose some features on this, but it's nice to have the option that you do get some of the features, and you do get great battery life if you want to do that. But if you needed any of the Google apps, you'd have to get out of the essential mode on the Mobvoi. So to get into essential mode, you could schedule it and it will automatically go into essential mode when you're sleeping to save battery. But if you want to just turn it on right now, you just hit this little battery icon there, and then we could switch right into essential mode right there. Now, surprisingly, there is no battery manager on the watch or on the app. But let's talk about my battery life. So my battery draw was about 20 to 30% per day. And of course, that varies depending on how active you are, your screen time, the amount of notifications you're doing, if you're using GPS, all that kind of stuff. So I already told you my setup. I had the LCD screen as my always-on display. I had the backlight turn on when I raised the screen, and then I had the option of hitting the button here or tapping the screen to turn on my AMOLED screen of when I wanted to check on my notifications or get into anything else. So I got consistently 4 days on this. And if you're a heavy user or you use, like I said, the AMOLED screen as your always-on display, or using a lot of GPS or things like that, then you could expect 2 to 3 days. If you're not using the low-powered screen here, then you're not using the main benefit of the watch. So again, maybe I direct you to a different watch. Okay, so let me give you a little more details about the display. So again, it is a 1.43-inch AMOLED screen. The resolution is 466 by 466, and the PPI is 326, which is basically just a very nice screen. And I put this watch face on here so you could see the size of the bezels. And the screen bezels are actually not that big, but that's because you got this, outside bezel that's able to hide anything that needed to be hidden. Still looks pretty modern with the minimal screen bezel. I'd much rather have a physical outside bezel that covers the screen bezel, but when you have that black ring around there, it just looks kind of dated. So again, the screen looked really nice. I couldn't find out what the actual brightness was, and I looked around, and Mobvoi doesn't have it anywhere on their site, but one source said it was 1000 nits, which is actually very good, and I had no problem seeing this outside. The brightness seemed fine for me. Now, a nice thing about this auto brightness is that it's more customizable. So let me show you that. So let's get into settings, and we're going to get into display, and then I'm going to go into brightness. Okay, so now I have the adaptive brightness off, and then this is my brightness that I could do here, obviously. You can make it real dim, and, it could get real bright and wash out the video. Let's make it down a little bit here. But now I could turn on the adaptive brightness, but now I have 3 levels of adaptive brightness. If you want to save battery, you can make it a little dimmer, but otherwise you could have the auto brightness be a little brighter so you could adjust it, which is nice. Because sometimes watches have the auto brightness, but they leave the screen so dim, in order to try to save battery, that it's not even useful because I can't even see the screen. So I like that you get a little customization on this one. Now, the auto brightness is actually available on the backlit screen. So on this, there's also the auto brightness. So let me just try to show you that. I'm going to dim the lights and see if I can show this on video. Okay, so there's the backlight. You can see that. Let's get it brighter. See how I just did that? Take it away. So there's a little bit of a delay, but you actually do get auto brightness on the backlit screen, which is a really nice feature. Now, I know some people thought the AMOLED screen was just a little washed out because it's got that LCD screen on top of it, but I don't know, I thought it looked pretty good. I'll show you a couple of things here. I thought the screen looked pretty nice, but what do you think? Let me show you the navigation of this watch. So I really love that rotating the crown does something right away, which on some watches you rotate the crown and nothing happens. But on this, you can go right through your tiles very quickly, which is really nice. And this crown is very easy to move, very slick movement, and very responsive. So really nice to have this crown here. But you may not like to have that where it rotates right away and does something. So let me show you how to turn that off. And again, this is a full review, but I'll also go over all the tips as kind of I talk about the topic. So you have to watch the whole thing to get all the tips. Sorry. But let me show you. So let's get into settings. I just need to scroll down here, hit the gear, and then we need to get into general, which is down here. So there's some options in here, and I just wanted to show you this one, the horizontal scroll to tiles. Now, if I turn this off, so now what happens is I get access to the quick tiles here, and then I could get my notifications like that. Really nice to have those different options for the crown. So let's scroll through the tiles here just by swiping. I'll show you all the tiles that are available when we get into the Mobvoi app. And then if you want to adjust these, you can do it. So if you just push and hold the screen here, and now I could add some if I want, and then I could move it just by hitting these little things here, and you could see those things scrolling behind it, and then we just hit it and it goes back into the new position. It's a little easy to do on the app. Now, if you push the button here, you get back into the home screen. If you're on the home screen and you push the crown, then you're going to get into the apps. And I'll just go through here quickly so you can just see what's available. There's the settings that we can get into to change everything, but this is what's available. You got a calculator and a calendar and all that stuff. That's a central mode that we could turn on, and all the standard stuff here. A lot of Mobvoi apps, which is all the TicWatches here. But if you notice, that's Spotify and YouTube Music are already preloaded on the watch. You got your stopwatch. You do have a barometer and things. I'll get into that stuff in a little bit. And so that is the apps. Then if you push the button again, you go to the home screen. If you double press it, it's going to open up the last app that you had. last app or the last setting that you were fooling with. Now, press and hold does nothing, but if you do press this button 5 times quickly, you can activate the SOS. We could turn that on and off if you want, and I'll show you how to do that a little later. But any of these crown functions cannot be customized, which is a little unfortunate. Then this top button, basically pressing it once takes you to your recents, whatever you were fooling with here. So those are the things that we were doing. And then if you press it twice, you open up Google Wallet. Then if you press and hold it, you're going to get the power menu. And then this is also where you could do a manual emergency SOS if you wanted to. Also, if you are having some sort of glitch or the software bugs out, if you push and hold this button for 15 seconds, it will force a restart of the watch. So hopefully you never have to use that, but it's there if you need it. Now let me just go back into the apps here. There is no other layouts of this, so it's just the list view. Some watches have icons or, different things to list the apps. This is all there is right here. Now, you can't delete any of the preloaded apps. With all the Tic apps, I'd probably like to get rid of some, but you can't. Now, if you wanted to edit these, then you just have to push and hold it, and then you have this option. Now, you can't just slide these up and down. You have to pin them. Then the app that you just pinned will go to the top. So if I do alarm, right? Now, alarm is on the top. But if I want alarm on the top, but I also want the calculator on the top, but I want the alarm to be on top of that, then I can't do this one first. I actually have to unpin this. I got to do the calculator. So that's going to go on top now, but then I wanted the alarm to be the first one, so now I'm clicking this, and now that's pinned up on the top. So if you wanted to rearrange this in the proper order, you would actually have to kind of plan it out a little bit, because every one you pin would go to the top, and you would want to do the one you want on the all the way top would have to be the last app that you pinned. So you can rearrange these a little bit, but it's not all that useful. But if there are a couple of apps that you wanted on the top, you could kind of move those to the top, and the other ones that you don't use would fall down to the bottom. So at least it gives you a little bit. So let's talk about the specs. It does have the latest Snapdragon W5 Plus chip, and it does have 2 gigabytes of RAM and 32 gigabytes of storage on this. And if you have any music apps, you can download all the music and playlists to the watch. Spotify and YouTube Music are preloaded, as I said, but you could download other music apps if you want to. Okay, let's talk about some connections here. It does have Bluetooth, obviously, but it's 5.2, which is just a little bit of an older version, but not such a big deal. It does have Wi-Fi and does have NFC, so you could use payments on this. And again, you have Google Wallet that's on here by default. And you could also pair buds to the watch if you wanted to. All you need to do here is go into Settings, and then you go into the top here, Connectivity, let's hit that, and then Bluetooth. Then all you need to do here is hit Pair New Device. Now, a nice feature that I really like is to have a disconnect alert, so that when my watch and phone get separated, meaning most likely that I left my phone behind somewhere in a store or a restaurant or something like that, the watch will kind of give me a notification, and then I could run back and get my watch before it gets stolen, right? But this doesn't have that, so that would have been nice, but it's not there if that's something that you were looking for. Let's talk about the sensors now. So it does have an accelerometer, gyroscope, heart rate, SpO2 and stress sensors, but it also does give you a skin temperature sensor, a compass, a barometer, and a barometric altimeter, which is really nice. So let me just show you that. So we got to get into the apps. And let me find it here. See, it's not under barometer, it's Tic barometer. And so this is my barometer right here. And if I scroll over, I'm going to get my altimeter. If you want that information all the time, I could turn this on all the time, but that's going to use up more battery. So by default, it's off. So it's up to you if you want to have that on all the time, or you could just kind of do it manually. And this also gives you a stair measurement on here. So it gives you how many flights of stairs you went up and down. There is GPS built in on this, but it is a single band with 5 positioning systems. And I had no problem with accuracy. It locked very quickly, and it maintained connection with no problem. Now, it is a single band. Some of the newer watches have dual band, which makes a little bit of a difference with accuracy if you're like in a city and you got a lot of buildings and obstructions around you. But I live in a fairly open area, so I haven't had any problems with it at all. You're also not able to put any GPX files on here, and there is no offline maps on this watch. Let's talk about some of the workout features. You do get an auto detection mode on here, and Mobvoi calls that the enhanced Ticmotion. This was a little bit buggy, honestly. It only auto detects walking, running, and cycling, and there were definitely some issues. In the beginning, I was actually very impressed with it, because after about 3 minutes of just going for a walk, it gave me a reminder and saying, hey, I'm watching what you're doing, and if you keep doing this, I'm going to start tracking it, basically. And then after about 5 minutes, it started calculating everything. And 5 minutes in, it says, basically you've been walking for 5 minutes, so it's keeping track of all that data. And I was like, that is super quick, because most watches usually wait about 10 minutes or so. to say we were auto detecting you're doing something, and just to kind of make sure that you're actually doing it. And it was very accurate to pick up when I was doing something. But for some reason, and this happened several times because I was actually testing it and trying to see what was going on, but it would do it for a bit and then just stop auto detecting after a while and just basically ended my workout or my walk or whatever I was doing. And, I thought maybe I looked at my phone for a minute or so and it just paused the activity. So I was very mindful of it. And again, just going for a bike ride or going for a walk, and I didn't do anything to stop. I didn't, move any different way or anything like that. It would just automatically stop. Sometimes after like 8 minutes or 12 minutes or 10 minutes, it would just stop. And I'm still doing the exact motion I was doing before. So that happened several times with this. So I don't know what was up with that, but that was definitely one of the big bugs that I've noticed. Everything else has been very good with this, very smooth. No other stutters or resets or freezes or anything like that, which I saw some reviewers had issues with. But the only thing I noticed was that the auto detect on this was not very good. Just something for you to keep in mind. Now, another nice feature on this is you do get heart rate zones, and you can have your LCD screen, and it will change colors based on what heart rate zone you're in, which is really nice. And you're using the low-powered screen, but then you could just glance at your watch, and you could see what actual heart rate zone you're in. You also do get a VO2 max on here, you get a recovery time insights, and you do get irregular heartbeat detection and AFib detection. It does have 110 plus workouts, which is more than anyone needs, but they're all there. And let me show you how to add and rearrange and move these exercises. I'm just going to scroll over here and get into the exercises. Then you can just hit more and get into all the other ones. These are all the exercises. And all the, the standard ones there, right? And if you wanted to add any, you just hit add. And then they're in categories here. So you can see what the categories are. Let me just show you water sports. A lot of people are interested in that. This is what you got. Again, we have pool swimming, open water swimming, and all of these would be the additional ones. Then if I want to add one, let's add rowing. And now it's on my list, right? So now it's there. Now, if I wanted to move these around, all I need to do is go into settings and exercise list settings. Click on that. And now I could just kind of move these around. I could just hold these little hamburger things over here and just kind of move them wherever I want. And then when I'm done, I just hit the button and get out of it. Or I could swipe back, whatever you want to do. Now, I also just want to go back to that menu for a moment, because this is where you would do anything with the Ticmotion. So let me get out of this, and we're just going to scroll down here to Ticmotion. And you can see it's toggled on now, and it's auto-recognizing my exercises. I could toggle that on and off, and I could have it where it gives me a reminder when it's starting to detect it, and then when it is done detecting it. And that's how I knew that it was done sooner than I was. And then recognized activity. So again, it only does 3, but you could toggle them on and off if you want. Okay, so let me just show you an exercise and show you what's available here. Let me just pick outdoor run. And here's where you could do your goals. We could set it for duration, distance, or calories. And again, you could just take whatever number you want in there. Okay, so now we're going to go, and I have an open goal here. So basically, I just run as long as I want. So it didn't get GPS, obviously, because I'm inside, but let's just start. And these are the details that you see. And you could just kind of scroll with your crown here. And you also do get a map on here. It'll show you your route when you're done. And there's your heart rate. And then you go back to the top. Now, none of this can be customized, though. Now, the other issue is that when you're working out, you don't have any access to do your music. So I can't go to the next song or anything like that, which, again, is kind of a big miss, I think. Only options I have are to pause it or end it if I want. So, again, kind of a big miss on that. And end the exercise, yes. And then it's not going to show you anything on the map, but, that would be available. Now, also just to let you know, the step counter on this was very accurate for the day and also during the workouts. The heart rate also was very accurate compared to my other watches. With any optical sensor here, sometimes if the heart rate is ramping up or ramping down, during interval training or rest periods or something like that, it does miss some of the quick changes in the heartbeat. But by and large, this was very good and very accurate. Now, let me also just show you what you can adjust here. We do have Tichealth, so let me show you what's available there. I'm going to just scroll down here to Tichealth and show you what it looks like. Let's do that. And then this is all the information you got here, and it lists everything there. So like I said, you do get the floors climbed. It does that automatically, which is nice. And this is all the data that's there. Now, if you don't want that, you could change it. So you could change the units right here. So if you want, the imperial or the metric. Then the health list sorting. So you saw that list of everything that was there. If you click on this, you could move it around. So, my stairs was pretty, close to the top. I could kind of move that down if I want, or, whatever I want. Now I'll show you the sleep settings in a moment, but I also wanted to show you the continuous monitoring. So if you click on that, you can see here we got the health heart monitoring. You could turn that on or off, and you could do the continuous if you want. So now if you turn this on, it will be every 10 minutes, but you could turn it on here, you get real time. So this is going to be every second here. And that obviously is going to be drawing a lot more battery life, but you get a lot more data. Now you could also scroll down here. We got the SpO2 monitoring. We could adjust it here, and we could adjust the frequency. So let me click on that, and this is what the options that you have. And again, you also have the real time on there. And then continuous stress, it's either on or off. And then if you see, you turn it on, you get every 30 minutes. So there's no adjustment on that. And also, I just want to show you here, we got to get into notifications. Click on this, and now we can have it not disturb you during certain times, but we could change our daily goals if we want right here. All right. And then we get goal reminders. You can turn that on and off if you want, start reminders, all these things. So basically, if you're not keeping up with your stated goal, it will let you know that you're falling behind. You could turn those on and off if you want. You got the bedtime monitoring. So I want to show you the exercise heart rate alarm. So let's turn that on. So it's going to give you any abnormality during exercises, but it does use more battery. So it's just kind of warning you on that. And now we could have the upper limit right here. And you could change that if you want. Then you got the resting heart rate alert. So put that on there. If you have a abnormal heart rate alert that's persisting for more than 10 minutes, it's going to let you know. And it's also telling you it's going to use up more battery. But okay. And now we got an upper limit and a lower limit. And then if you want to adjust it, you just click that. Then the lower one, you just click that, and you could just scroll it and do whatever you want. Okay. So I guess I'll just leave them on. Just wanted to show you all those things. That's actually, most of these features are on the watch. There's not too much to do in the app. The app is a little bit basic. Okay, so let's move on to sleep tracking. Let me show you that data, and I'm going to show you that on the app. Okay, so what we need is the Mobvoi Health. You can download this from the Google Play Store. It used to be in the past, the Mobvoi had 2 apps, but everything's in this one app. So let me just show you this just for the sleep tracking, and I'll go into more detail with the other stuff in just a bit. This is my activity today. I have done actually nothing today. It is too darn cold out, and I have not left the house. So here we are inside, and my goal was to do this video today. So let me get that done. This is our sleep data. So let me just show you what's available, and I'll show you what information it gives you. So this is my one day to sleep in. So I usually have a good sleep here. And you can see here, I compared this with several watches over like 3 or 4 weeks now. And basically, it was a little variable. I can't say that the other watches were any more accurate. So it's good for big picture stuff, but I don't know how accurate all this sleep data tracking is. The numbers and the stages were kind of close, but it did vary a little bit. I just wanted to show you what we got here. You get a score. You get your graph here. That's really nice. It does give you a little tip here, or some information about what you did. It gives you all the stages, and it gives you the percentage in each one, and then it gives you the actual time in each one. And it gives you, compared to the averages over here. So just kind of give you a feel of what's going on a little bit. This is the snoring record. Okay, now for the snoring record, you actually have to do this manually, which kind of stinks a little bit. So if you go into the settings, this is just going to give you where you want it stored. You can pay extra to have it stored in the cloud. And then you can also see how long you want to store it for. So free is 1 in 7 days. If you want anything more, you got to pay for it. I'm just going to get out of this quick. I'll show you where the snoring is. We got to get out of this. And I got to go to start sleep. So before you go to bed, you got to turn this on. Then we're going to go into sleep now. And then basically you just go ahead and sleep. And when you're done, you hit this. And then it will record your snoring. So again, you got to turn it on manually and turn it off manually, which is kind of just a little bit of a pain. So I'm just going to end this. And let me get back into the sleep data. Okay, so we were up to here. But then also you see here, you get a couple of nice graphs. It does give you your average sleep heart rate, your maximum and the minimum. Does give you a blood oxygen level, and again also the max and the min. It also does give you your breathing rate, and it does give you the maximum and the minimum. You also do get skin temperature, and it does give you a little graph, and it gives you some insight here. So it just kind of gives you some details on that, and it kind of again gives you some information here, and it just kind of tries to keep you on a regular sleep schedule if possible. We're going to go into Tichealth again. So we got to scroll all the way down here. Maybe I should have pinned it to the top. But let me find it. Tichealth. Let's click on that. And we're going to go into the sleep settings. Told you I'd come back here. So this is our sleep schedule. So you could change this if you need to, and then you could have non-tracking time. So if you are napping during the day or something like that and you don't want it to track it, you could turn that on and off if you want. You could have a sleep alarm if you want. But the main thing I wanted to show you here is if you want to turn on the breathing rate and the temperature monitoring. This is where you click it. And if you're not really using it for that, you're just wearing the watch, you don't really need it for sleep tracking, you just want to use it for an alarm or something like that, then you could turn these things off and it would save some battery. Now, the other thing is, when you do go into sleep, the watch will auto-detect it, and it will automatically go into essential mode. So let me just show you that. So you could go into settings by scrolling down the top, or we can go into here. And then we got to scroll all the way down to system, which is a little bit hidden. Then essential mode. Click on that. So switch into essential mode right now. You could toggle it on either here or again in the quick toggles. And then you could also have it auto switch by schedule. So let's turn that on. So my essential mode, I can schedule. That's where I have scheduled. Even if it doesn't detect me sleeping, it's going to go into essential time during those times. And smart essential mode, so that's going to be when you go to sleep, it's going to automatically turn on. And again, you could turn that on and off if you want. And then when it is in essential mode, you could disable the tilt to wake backlight if you want. It doesn't use that much battery power. So if you like that light, I would go ahead and just turn that off if you wanted to. But I usually use essential mode basically just at night. So I'd rather have that backlight disabled, right? Because I don't want to turn it on at night. Let me get into a couple extra features that the Mobvoi watch has that I did not get into yet. The big thing that Mobvoi was emphasizing was this heat map. And basically what this is, if you are playing any kind of ball sport and you're doing it outside, because it does require GPS, and it does ask you that when you do activate football or soccer, whatever you're doing, it will ask if it's inside or outside. If you are doing it outside, it will give you a heat map report of where you were most of the time. If you wanted to use this for some sort of training or analysis or something like that, you could. I don't use it, but it's a unique feature that the Mobvoi watch has that I don't think any other watch has. Now, another nice feature on the Atlas, which was added to the Atlas from the TicWatch 5 and the TicWatch Enduro, which is the fault detection and the emergency SOS. When a fault is detected, the SOS screen will automatically appear, and you get a 60-second countdown timer. So if you fell but you're okay, or you didn't really fall at all, you could just toggle it off. If you don't do anything, then it's going to call the emergency number, and it's also going to send a text to your emergency contacts that you have listed on. And I'll show you how to do the contacts in just a minute and how to do the settings for the SOS. Now, if you have the GPS enabled, then the message will include the location where you are. It will also tell the emergency contact if the smartwatch battery is low, and it will also notify them if you move to a different location. So that's kind of really nice. So let me show you what that looks like on the Mobvoi app. So now this is in device. We got to scroll up here and go into settings. And this is going to be in emergency SOS. Pretty straightforward here. And again, press 5 times. That means you press the crown button here 5 times quickly, and then that would engage. If you're worried about hitting it by accident or something like that, you could turn that off. And now we have the fall detection. You can have this toggled on and off, if you don't want that feature. So you have it always on, which is kind of what I think it should be. Or you can have it set for just during exercise. Emergency number to call. We click on this. Now you could have the 911 or the emergency number that is in your country, or you could do a custom number and you could just type your number of your friend or your husband or your wife or whatever you want. If you do emergency contacts, you just click on this and it will go into your contact list, and you could add, I believe it's 4 contacts that you could add. And then all of them will get the text if you fall or if you hit that SOS, they'd get the emergency message. And then, of course, you'd want to do this as well, share location to the emergency contacts if you're contacting them and letting them know that you are having an emergency. I don't know why you wouldn't let them know your location. So you just toggle that on. I didn't, but, just do as I say, not as I do. And some of the other features that the Mobvoi has that maybe not every watch has, it has the irregular heartbeat and the AFib detection. It also does have that fast charging, which is really nice. It also does have the essential mode. And if you put the watch in essential mode for full time, you do get 45 days of battery life, which is really nice. Okay, I just wanted to show you one other interesting feature that the Mobvoi has. If you click on here, and let's get into our apps. So let me just scroll down here. Let's see if I can find this. One tap measurement. So let me just click on this. And now I just left this on here so you can see what it does. And we're just going to start. And you can see what it does here. It's doing the heart rate, the blood oxygen, respiratory rate, stress, and heart health. So it's kind of nice that it's measuring all 5 of these things. The duration of this varies kind of depending on how much you move, but kind of cool that you get all that information. Okay, so let me talk quickly about the watch faces. So Mobvoi uses Time Show for the watch faces, and there's several that are built in there, and there's a lot available. But if you don't like any of those, you can go to Google Play Store and you could download any ones that you want. Obviously, some of these are free and some of them are charged, but you're not limited at all with the watch faces that are available. Any notifications that you get to your phone, you can have them sent to your watch, and you could also toggle some of those notifications on or off. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But let me just show you, I sent a text to myself, and let me just show you how you would get it here. And obviously you can see here, you get images, no problem with that. And here we go, these are our options. And then we just go into the other messages that are below it. And then this is our replies. We could do the emojis, right? And there's all of those different options that you have. Then we could do speech to text, which works perfectly. Then you also have the keyboard here that you could just type out the letters, and then you could also just do the swipe gestures if you want. And you got all the suggestions right here. So really easy to respond to text in a bunch of different ways. Okay, so let's go back into the Mobvoi app and go over a couple of things that I didn't go over. Okay, so again, we didn't get past sleep. So I'm just going to show you what else is available here. You got all these different options, and we can manage them. So you click on this, and then these are all the options. And I could delete them just by hitting the X, obviously. And then, of course, if I just want to move them, I could just relocate it like that, and now it's done. So real easy to handle that. But there's no other features on here. There's nothing else to customize on this. Now, if we get into device, this has my watch face on there. The battery life, you can see all that kind of stuff there. Mobvoi uses Time Show. So this is the watch faces that are available. And, some of them are free. And if you click on this, you just get a lot more here. And again, some of them are free, some of them are paid. You'll see the options there. But if you don't like any of these, you can just go into the Google Play Store and get whatever watch face that you want. Now, again, this is a very simple app. There's really not much to this at all. But here we could do, you can't do anything with the apps, so that the only way to adjust those are on the watch. But if you go into tiles here, now I could adjust these, and it's probably much easier to do on the phone than on the watch. So these are all the tiles that I have on the watch, so you can see what's available. And then this is the ones that I did not have on the watch, but all these you could add. But that's it. Now, if I don't want any of these that are on, I just toggle them off, and I could just toggle these on if I want. Then it gets turned onto my list. Now, if I want to adjust these, again, same thing as before. I just kind of move it like that and then change the order if I wanted to. Then that's done. User manual, we don't need to go into that. So if I go into watch faces, this is the ones that I have downloaded. Now, settings. Again, there's a couple of things that we could do here, but not too much. So for displays, actually, you could do more on the watch than you can in the app. The display, you can only change the screen timeout. Sound and vibration, we could have these options if you want. And this is where the apps and notifications are. So these are apps that are generated from the watch, and I could turn those on and off if I want. And then these are the ones coming from the phone. So again, I could turn these on and off if I want. I could also enable any new app that I download to be toggled on for the notifications, which you probably don't want to do that unless you really just love notifications. But if I click on this right here, I'll get more stuff. So this is the most recent right here. But I could do the most frequent, or I could do the ones that are deactivated. So, these are all the ones I deactivated. And then you could do the same thing down here from the phone to the watch. Again, these are the most recent. So this is the easiest way to just go in there and say, oh, I don't want to hear anything from eBay. I could just turn that off. And then, the most frequent. Then we got the deactivated. And then you could just go to all the apps, and then you could turn on which ones you want notifications from or ones you don't want them from. So let's get out of that. General, again, kind of just simple features here. This you could toggle on so you get a notification when the watch is fully charged. I did like that. And then this is the accessibility. There's a couple of different options here for the magnification and the talkback. There's actually a couple more features on the watch, but the video was just getting too long and I couldn't go into all of that. But I might make a separate video on the accessibility options of WearOS. But not today. And this is for the calendar. If you have multiple calendars, you can just click on which one you want, so you're not getting the same notification from multiple calendars. This is where the emergency SOS was, and these are the features we already went over. Accounts is just if you have multiple accounts, you could change them for the watch. Backup and restore if you do want to, transfer your watch to a new phone. So let me get into system. This is really all that's available there. Privacy. Basically just going to show you the privacy options. And then this is just the privacy settings that you could change if you don't want that stuff being shared. Let me get out of that. And then unpair and reset if you're looking to sell the watch or give it away or something like that, you can do that. And then we got the account. So that's basically everything on this page, and that's all the device options there. If we go into account, there's not too much here. but you do have an option to send your fitness data to other apps. You could do Strava and Google Fit if you want to do that. And then here you could change the units again. I showed you how to do it on the watch, but you could do it right here if you want. And that's basically it. So there's really not much to the app. The app is actually very simplistic. It's more simplistic than several budget watches that I've recently reviewed. Okay, so let's wrap this up here, right? Some of the cons on this is, again, the software is just a little buggy on some things. I didn't have too many issues. The only thing I really noticed was the auto detect, which just didn't really work very well. The other issue that is a little disappointing is the Mobvoi app on the phone is very limited, very basic. Another con is that there is no Google Assistant on here, so if that's what you were really looking for, then you have to look elsewhere. But again, the Atlas here is a very durable watch. You either like the design or you don't, but it is a very durable watch. It does have the sapphire crystal on here, which is really nice. It is rated for 5 atmospheres and does have the military spec certification. It also does have a great battery life for a WearOS watch. I mean, 3 or 4 days on this is really nice, and I don't really have to worry about charging it as often. And then also you have the very fast charging. So if you just charge it for a little bit, you'd be good to go for the day. So if battery is an issue, this is a great watch to get. But again, you'd really only get this watch if you are planning on using this second screen. If you're not going to use the second screen, then it's probably not worth it. There's other options for you. Now, another con that we have to see about is the limited software updates. I don't know. Hopefully, we're going to get updated to WearOS 5, and hopefully we're going to get security updates and bug updates and, maybe a couple of little features along the way. We'll see what happens with that. Mobvoi has a very poor track record, and they're really going to have to start upping their game with the software or they're going to lose even more customers. But the watch by itself is really nice. Right now, it's pretty much my favorite watch, and mostly because I just love that retro LCD screen. I can't get enough of that. Now, that is the end of this review. If you have any questions or if I left anything out, or if you had good experience or bad experience with the Mobvoi, please leave it in the comments. I would love to hear about it.